going to look at applications in a number of different areas of disruptive thinking. New product concepts, matching emerging technologies and emerging needs, uncovering insights that are not in plain sight. I think of effective disruption as one, it's bold ideas made commercially profitable. It's using technology that for the most part is already commercialization ready. If it's not commercialization ready, it may be too early. Solving problems that others have overlooked or customers have learned to live with. You know, and I'm going to show you examples of a lot of interesting innovations that are solving problems people have overlooked or customers have just learned to live with them and nobody thought to innovate there. So let's jump in. Here's a disruptive engine. It's called the OPEC engine. And it was invented from a curiosity from an engineer at Volkswagen who said, why can't engines have pistons in both ends? And he's now created a company. It's a startup at this point. It's got $25 million in venture investment. He's got contracts with Navistar. And now the benefit of this is he's got 2 times the horsepower, 30% less weight, much higher energy efficiency than any piston engine on the market. We'll see where this one can go. And that's where a lot of disruptive thinking starts, is a curiosity about something. A lot of the military is about logistics. To move gasoline from to an expeditionary location like in Afghanistan or Iraq, the cost of gas is $35 to $40 a gallon to get it on site. In addition to that, for every 20 convoys that move fuel, there's going to be at least 1 soldier injured or killed. So cutting down the amount of gas consumption is a huge issue. And for the most part, it's a pain that the military's learned to live with. Here comes an ex-military guy, clean energy in a box. What it is it's in a shipping container. You open it up, it's got solar, high efficiency diesel engine, and it's got a charging battery. Diesel only has to charge the battery. The solar charges the battery. The net effect is, in trials, it uses 93% less fuel than the conventional solution. And this is all off-the-shelf technology. Identifying a disruptive need, a pain point that everybody else overlooked, and putting together off-the-shelf technology in an original way. Everyone knows a needle. So here's the needle for injections. Here is a completely different type of needle. Instead of an 1.5 inch needle on a hypodermic, it has a needle that's 0.06 inches. And not only that, a benefit is that it injects it into a layer of skin, that actually winds up that you need less vaccine because the layer of skin you would put it in, it's much more effective than injecting it into muscle tissue. Why are needles like that? Why have they been that way for 100 years? Why? Past practice, legacy. Yep. Cheap. Easy to fill. Now you look at this and you go, how would I fill it? So the original design of this is it's a pre-fill. Now, detecting skin cancer. Conventional way for detecting skin cancer is take a biopsy, send it to the lab. Here's a new gadget by researchers at the University of British Columbia that detects skin cancer using a laser. The laser excites the mole that they're testing for, analyzes the vibrations coming off of that like a mass spec would analyze something, and diagnoses whether or not you have a tumor by the light that's emitted, absorbed, etc. And it's so far got 100% accuracy against biopsies, challenging a whole different pain point. Look, if you go into the physician, you want to know now. The place that's interesting where they failed to innovate, and we'll see whether this actually works, is the price tag on that is $60,000. Now, how it gets paid for is now the physician gets the diagnostic test fee rather than the diagnostic test fee going to the lab. But that's $60,000 up front. A lot of physicians are going to go, that's going to take me 4 or 5 years to get a payback or something like that. I don't want to invest in something like that, even though it's beneficial. What this outfit did not go after is they didn't pivot. They didn't hear the problem and go, maybe there are other financial models that I could be using. Honeywell. So here we've got typical windmills, 10-meter diameter blades. Honeywell comes out with a whole new design, 1-meter diameter blade. Not only that, in these, the generator is where? The generator is in the center. Here, the electricity is generated at the rim. So they challenge the core assumption. This is a disruptive technology. If you were out to market something like this, where would you first look to market it? If you were looking to scale it and test it out in the marketplace, where would you go? Near as I can tell, Honeywell's got a phenomenal technology, an interesting product, but it hasn't gotten innovative about how it's going to take it to market. And we'll see how long it takes for it to get acceptance. Okay, so they're taking it to market in commercial, residential, industrial. Are they going to market in a way that was smart to begin with low cost of entry, easy to make pivots and adjustments as they learn what the market really needs and how it really plays out in the market? Or did they go mass, like to cross the chasm right away? And then when they hit a snag, they don't have a way of quickly adapting and quickly being agile. And one of the things that you'll see about disruptive innovators is they really continue to be very agile in how they go into the market. Here is a different kind of fertilizer. Normal fertilizer, kind you use on your lawn, pellets or spray, or it's organic, as indicated there. This is actually introducing active soil bacteria. Assumption that they're fundamentally challenging, they're challenging the assumption you need to add something back. And what this assumption is we're making it natural once again. So it's the ideal solution where the bacteria continue to regenerate the soil in a natural setting, providing all sorts of benefits that aren't available when you use the additive approach. Challenge is a very different assumption and could be extremely cost effective because you might not have to use it at all annually, avoids runoff and pollution. This is an oil rig. How do people salvage an oil rig? Within 5 years after you stop pumping oil, you have to get rid of the rig. How people salvage it is with a salvaging model, which is they cut it up into pieces and move it. Very, very expensive to salvage an oil rig that way. Different kind of thinking. Why don't I pick it up and move it? Now, this points to adopting a very, very different point of view or perspective. The original perspective is the perspective that comes from the salvage industry. And the salvage industry is oriented around cutting things up and reselling the metal as scrap. That's the salvage industry's model. This guy comes from the mega mover view of things. People that lift up locomotives and the people that move houses. And the distance here is larger than a football field. So it's a whole different scale of thinking. You find a lot of disruptions are happening because people are thinking at a very, very different scale of magnitude. To a completely different topic, customer needs. Expanding the existing market by creating additional buying or usage occasions. Sidestepping your capabilities into new applications. Redefining the existing market in disruptive terms. So here are some very simple examples. Here's Minute Maid. When you think Minute Maid, what do you think? Orange juice. What occasion do you think? Who drinks it? Breakfast, it's orange juice, and now it's everybody. Worked with them years ago to redefine drinking occasions. So we had teenage drinking occasions, we had senior drinking occasions, we had midday drinking occasions, all inside of healthy drinking, which was the core of Minute Maid. And so they took it from just a breakfast concept into totally different markets, including totally different juices as well. Coffee occasions. You've got Starbucks now having instant coffee. You've got Green Mountain and all the other single serve. Who would have thought, a few years ago that there was the opportunity for explosive growth in the coffee market? And they got it by redefining the market and creating additional drinking occasions, not for coffee, but for good coffee. Tesco, Home Plus virtual Subway stores. This is in Korea. What you see up there is a gentleman taking a photograph on his smartphone of a virtual display. That's nothing real there. That's in a subway, just a backlit display. He takes a photograph of the backlit display, things that he wants. It's delivered to his house within an hour. It's now got a commanding market share, all off-the-shelf technology. Now, one of the things that they did that was really interesting about how they agile developed that is at the outset they did it in only 1 or 2 subway stations. And at the outset, the technology behind making that work was a human being looking at the photographs and pulling stuff off of the shelf. They were testing it out. They were seeing, would this thing really work? They were doing it concierge style, found out it really worked, and then started to cobble together the technology to make it work at scale. But first they proved out the concept, and they proved the concept out within something like 3 months. From the time they had the idea, that's the kind of speed. And that was a very innovative, disruptive way of proving the concept out, not only of what the concept is itself. Got a lot of companies that are doing side steps where they're taking their capabilities into different places. IBM, for example, is taking its capabilities, and now it's huge in data analytics. It's big in the electric grid. Intelligent electric grid is a multi-billion-dollar business. It's investing in the intelligent city right now because it figures traffic control, heat. So it's now taking core expertise and now developing it to be application expertise. That's a sidestep for them. We know Apple sidestepped first the iPod into the iPod plus iTunes. Then comes along the iPhone and the App Store. And then comes along the iPad. Apple's been brilliant at sidestepping its way. Nothing revolutionary in its technology. W.L. Gore, Gore-Tex, brilliant at taking its capabilities and sidestepping into whole new markets, and doing it in a very entrepreneurial type way. Core to its integral DNA is we're going to continue to operate like startups creating more startups, and almost nobody can duplicate it. Then we have Nike sidestepping into apparel, sidestepping into apparatus that plugs in and connects to your smartphone. And Cisco, well known for doing that in telecom. Here's an interesting idea. Total Care from Rolls-Royce. Rolls-Royce sells jet engines, not the car, the aerospace part of Rolls. Years ago, like a decade, they started hearing from customers. Customers really want uptime. That's what's really valuable to customers. And so now Rolls doesn't sell engines, it sells life cycle uptime. And customers contract with Rolls for a certain level of uptime per engine. I asked Rolls, doesn't that take away money from you? Because the reason they're doing it is to reduce their life cycle costs. They said on the one hand, yes. Well, on the other hand, no. Because what's happened is it's brought into our ecosystem a lot of activities that previously were done by others and now are done by us. So we've insourced now customer work, we've insourced other work. So it's actually been a huge engine of revenue growth, even though the growth in the traditional part of the business is actually smaller. Now you go, how did they get into that originally? They got into it not by trying this out at scale. They got into it originally with one customer, with one type of engine, with one or two key components within that engine that they would start to do life cycle costing on. And then they've taken it from the commercial side into the defense side. Next, again, we're doing a real sparking, real kind of smorgasbord taste of a lot of different ways that people are innovating. Redefining the market to reach non-customers. So these are people that are not currently customers of the kinds of applications that you or your direct competitors sell. They're getting needs met some other way, but not through buying your kind of products and services. An example of redefining the market is the Wii. Originally, way it came out, but now look who's engaged in things for the Wii. But it's really redefined the market for gaming, okay, from being kids and video games to now highly interactive, highly physically engaging for whole different population settings, including classroom settings for kids. The Tata Nano. This is the consumer base the Nano was aimed for. This is what family transportation in India looks like. Tata set out to design a car, and the objective was to design a car that cost $2,000 or less. And that's the Tata Nano. It's available in India. People have it. Getting to the ultimate bottom of the pyramid? No, it's not. But it's getting to a level of the market that's now starting to have the disposable income for a car. And it's really become now a very key aspirational part of the emerging middle class in India. Here's something MIT just came out with for cataracts. Again, point of availability. So instead of for cataracts needing to go to an optometrist, you hook something onto an iPhone. It costs about $2, and the iPhone maps out the area of the eye that's got any kind of cataract, and then you could use it to send an image to a physician's office and get diagnosed whether you have a cataract, how treatable is it. So again, totally different concept for point of care. And a lot of these, as we well know, while they're being dreamed up to serve the emerging markets, are really going to be disruptors when they come back into the mainstream developed world. Associated with treating HIV, one of the biggest causes of death is liver ailments that are undiagnosed and untreated as a result of treating people for HIV. So if you don't monitor the liver, you can wind up getting toxicity and die from that. Here is something that you put a drop of blood on, and the icons here change color and indicate 20 some odd different possibility symptoms for liver disease based on a drop of blood being placed on it. And they're estimating the cost of producing something like this at scale of being about 5 cents. Completely rethinking some of the diagnostic. And so part of the disruptive thinking is challenged by getting it available extremely low cost, but part of it then is challenging whole different technology approaches that can scale to that kind of cost. Virgin in the UK is real iconic in the way Apple is iconic in the US. Branscom's iconic because he goes into established industries and disrupts them. Because he takes where people are taken for granted in the level of service they get, and he disrupts the level of service. And every industry he's gone into, he goes into with a particular disruptive lens. How could I disrupt the level of service people have come to just expect and tolerate? He also has a very, very interesting organizational model in terms of how Virgin operates as a holding company and then spawns out all of these entrepreneurial ventures to go after all sorts of different things. When Virgin came into the United States for phones with Virgin Mobile, the original idea behind Virgin Mobile was going to be that they were going to offer Virgin Mobile for seniors. People who had very, very limited usage occasions and didn't need the big plans that Verizon and AT&T and they didn't need the latest and greatest technology. As they started to explore the market, what they did is, and there's a term that we use a lot called strategic pivots. They tested their hypotheses and found out that their hypotheses didn't hold up about where the market was. And then they generated another hypothesis, and the hypotheses they settled on as their core for their first entry into the market was teenagers and young adults on a limited budget. And what they were doing is prepaid plans. And then they worked to optimize the whole system for people with prepaid plans. Weyerhaeuser, we did a project with them where they had come up with a composite wood plastic technology, and they were looking at how to enter the market. But they were going to enter it into this mass market and aim for 2 or 3% market share of a $5 billion type market, like FedEx and sidings. And we took a disruptive lens to their product. And it turned out there was a segment of the market that really wanted a composite like that because it was much lighter weight, more durable. But that segment of the market was only a $500 million segment in size. But in that segment, this product could have a disruptive market share. So would you go for 2 or 3% of fighting for market share in a market that already is well established, including well established by your own parent company? Or would you go for redefining a market in which you could have disruptive potential? Time Matters is an offshoot of Lufthansa. They provide concierge delivery services that will deliver packages within the same day. Why? Because Lufthansa Air Freight kept getting asked for, and there's a market there. They then developed a very specific business, set up as an independent subsidiary with its own IT system, its own staffing, and where possible to leverage Lufthansa's air freight, but not necessarily, not as a restriction. So they were really set up with an independence. They're looking at now expanding within certain Asian countries.